Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fitting of the Nipper undercarriage tool. The fetching gloves, of course, it's feckin' cold, as is the hat, as is the uniform. Here we have a set of the potential replacement bungees, HD 1080s, which are fitted to Piper Cubs. This has been fitted initially just as a trial fit for a load test on this fuselage for the purposes of certification from the LAA. So now I'm going to fit the undercarriage tool, remove this one, and then fit the genuine undercarriage bungees that are in short supply for Nipper kits and components. You may have to drill out these very slightly to 10mm diameter so that these tubes can pass through. The reason we've got to have these spacer tubes in here is so that the tool can pivot as the undercarriage legs are pushed apart. I've already put that one in there. They're both just nice snug fits. Right then, so now we have the undercarriage tool, very simple tool, dreamt up by my good self. It's easier if you're working from one side, so just pop that tool in there. The tool is marked up as colour coded. You can see a red spot there, white spot there, white spot there, and you'll see the red spot on the other bit in a moment. So ensure you put the washers on so that it butts up against the spacer tube properly. Washer's already on there, pop that guy through there, washer on the end, and this one up to here. You're obviously going to do this upside down on the aircraft, so it's a bit easier for me here with this fuselage as it is now. Pop this one on first so that that one, when it goes on, doesn't get in the way. And just basically spin this guy up until it comes up tight to the tube, and you're going to have to just tweak it maybe a tiny little bit for your particular fuselage. This then unscrews back, and we put the other piece of the tool in there. Once again, not forgetting the washer on the end. Pop that guy, oops, other way around. To there. Now, the spanner size on all of these is in actual fact 17mm. And bear with me while I just go and grab a 17mm spanner. No, I've got an adjustable here which will do for the purposes of demonstration, but the flats on here are for 17mm. This type of spanner is affectionately known in the trade as an AFS spanner. I'll let you work that out for yourselves. Okay, so just nip them up. The colour on the this one, the red dot on there, is on the other side now. It doesn't matter, just as long as you've got red to red and white to white. We then simply screw that guy in there. And what I would ask you to do is to make sure that the tool remains lubricated, clean and free from grit and everything on the threads, because that will obviously increase the life of the tool, so we can all use it a bit more. I've got two sockets on go here, 15mm and a 17mm, different sizes so that you haven't got to go and steal from other socket sets. And wind that guy in there. Okay, so now we're all set up to basically wind the tool out. Using two ratchets makes it simple because you want to keep the tool equally spaced so you don't bend the threads here any more than you really have to. So if you've got two ratchets on the go, it just makes life a little bit easier to keep them in sync. So kind of away we go. Right. Now what we're doing here essentially is we're just going to squeeze the rubbers apart. So in actual fact, I'm going to be going the other way. So we're undoing both simultaneously. Don't have to use a pair of sockets on this. And you can use spanners. What am I doing here? I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Going the wrong way with that one. So, there we go. So, now the tool is square. Basically undoing, as it were, both. Excuse me, no, we're undoing one and we're doing up the other just the way the tool is being operated. So working like this keeps it all nice and speedy. So that we're stretching the rubber now. Now, health and safety. Obviously, there's an awful lot of potential energy in this band here, and you'd normally have another one here, so you've got a pair of bands. The potential energy in there is enormous. So keep your eyes, fingers, hands, limbs, everything away from anything that might let go. This tool is not certified, it is used at your own risk. So, here we go, carrying on along. Getting all that's skewed there. Square again, matching it up. So, looking good. Now then, what we've got here, zoom us out a bit. I wasn't zoomed in the first place. So now what we've got is you're in a position to take that undercarriage leg off. So what I've already done is I've already backed off these bolts. So forgive me. This is a damaged fuselage, so I'm just going to use a pair of mole grips just to pull the bolts out. The only two bolts you need to take out of the undercarriage is this one. Obviously make sure there's no load on there before you go releasing it. You'll soon feel because you won't be able to pull the bolt out. So two bolts you need out is this one and this one. So before I do that one, let's just see if we've got any load on there. So you can see now that the bungee is being pulled up here, and essentially all the load is being taken off of this here. So what we can now do is withdraw this bolt, and this happy chap is now free, and all the energy is still stored in these two threaded bolts there. Now what we do in order to change the rubber, because I'm going to put the genuine Neiman ring on here now, is basically to unload the tool. So turn these guys around and take the load off the tool. Keeping the tool square. You'll soon notice that the tool is going bowed because the threaded rod here will start to bow, and that will start to damage the threaded rod. Currently about -2 in this hanger. Well, I don't think I can feel my hands anymore. The hangers are great for that kind of thing, aren't they? As you can see, the load is coming off of that bungee. To fit the Neiman rings, you're going to need it to be reasonably close. Let the tool do the work for you. There's no point stretching the Neiman rings any more than you have to. And of course, with this 1080 HD bungee, it's a completely different setup. Righty-ho. Now what we can do here, slip this guy off of here. So fitting this bungee, if you are going to use the 1080 instead of the Neiman rings, is to basically put across here. You don't want the crossover on the top side of the two rubbers here, so you want the crossover on this side. So if you're going to use this particular bungee, joiner down here just to keep it pretty, figure of 8 over the end of the tool, like that. And then basically wind the tool up, keeping the crossover on this side, on the lower side of the undercarriage, and just wind the tool out and do the same as I'll be doing in a moment with the genuine Neiman rings. So off he goes, and that's what the Cub bungee looks like. It's very cold in here, so of course it's quite difficult to use. If you've got a nice warm hanger, then it'll make fishing a little bit easier. Here we have a set of bungees, very kindly loaned by Gary. Gary, thank you for this, and the group I'm sure appreciate it. So what we're going to do now is close the tool up even more, because like I say, there's no point working yourself hard in order to get the bungees on. So by hand now, you can just close up the tool a bit more. This is pretty much what you'll be doing on the aircraft when you change the rings anyway. One of the longest jobs of doing this on the actual aircraft will be trestling the aircraft and supporting it carefully so that you're not going to damage it whilst you've got the weight off of the undercarriage. So, well, for the purpose of the test, I'll just do the front end here, because I've only got one set of bungees, and I'm only testing one set of bungees because my strain gauge won't do a double set. But the test is only purely for the purposes of seeing how that 1080 bungee compares to the Neiman ring. So, like I say, no point in struggling. Get these closed as close as you like, so you can just slip them all on. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. These ones are slightly smaller. It's almost as if there's not the next size up, so you might find that you need a little bit of squeeze in there to get these on. Oh, I wish I could feel my fingers. Just go off and have yourself a cup of tea while I'm struggling with this one, will you? Mine's a black coffee, no sugar. They tell me I'm sweet enough. Okay. You are putting the genuine Neiman rings, and obviously they need to all be nicely parallel before you put any strain on them, because you'll never move the bloody things once it's all together. You can see how much trouble I'm having with stretching these over themselves. Just imagine what it's like getting them without the tool. Blood and guts everywhere. Okay then, so 5 Neiman rings there now, all together. And there's still a bit of space, as you can see, around the tool, so you're not working hard against the tool or anything like that. So now away we go. Essentially, do the same as we did before. And wind the tool up. Notice there should be a washer in there. I should have put a washer in there. So I'll tell you what, I'll do that before I go any further. Because these Neiman rings are very stiff. All you're doing is just making life a little bit easier for yourself. That washer should have gone in just there. There we go then. The other thing I want to do is just put a bit of fresh lube on the threads. Good quality engine oil and all the bits where it's all being loaded up hard. As I say, there's a tremendous amount of potential energy in that lot. And the longer we keep this tool in good condition, the longer everybody gets to borrow it. It's a relatively easy tool to make. It's just 10mm threaded rod, which you can get at a builder's merchants or a bolt supplier. And these are basically steel tubes drilled out and threaded all the way through 10mm thread. And here we go, stretching the bungees nicely. And the same, I've only got one set of bungees on there, so when you've got two, stress on this tool much greater. So what we're doing now is basically stretching the bungees until this eye here will intersect with this and we can pop the bolt through. Little way to go yet. Getting on. Way to go yet. Must be getting close now. Yep, nearly there. Should be about it. So then, whilst you're in here, by the way, and you've got the load off of the undercarriage and the aircraft is safely trestled, it's a good time to think about taking these bolts out to A, inspect them, and B, lubricate them. Where this eye goes through the bolt, there shouldn't be any relative movement, so it's not as if this eye is going to saw its way through the bolt. However, in theory, the bolt should stay stationary in the lugs here and pivot through here. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It might even be worthwhile just thinking about putting new bolts on while you're there. So, undercarriage lube, get your bolt started, and then offer up the eye to go in there. Bolts in. They're away. The other bolt in. And there you are, all back together again, obviously with your other set of Neiman rings in there. So now, simply take the load off of the tool, and you have successfully installed a new set of undercarriage rubbers. Cack-handed here because I'm trying to go into the rubbers in and I can't feel myself. I have got a cold as well, by the way, you realise. I've come out here especially to do this so we can get this tool circulating around and get the test into the bungees. Am I good to you? So you can see now the rubbers are taking up their form, pushing up against there. That's why the crossover, when you have the bungees, needs to be on this side rather than this side, because it'll tend to hold the undercarriage splayed if you've got the crossover on this side. So the weight's nearly off of the tool now. And you can see the guys come out of here, which means the load is being taken now by stops on the undercarriage. So, undo him enough so he comes out of there. And finish up. Oops, this guy here, right. So now you're in the situation, not going too far there, you can actually put the tool together. Just feel for when that's unloaded there, and then you know that there's no load on the threads, etc. Now simply undo these two guys. You might want to use a quarter drive ratchet, a quarter drive extension, something like that. It's a Tommy bar. Undo him. He comes. Undo him. He comes. Tube comes out. Tool comes out. Tube comes out in a moment. And there you have it. So now I'll do the strain test on this undercarriage rubber with a strain gauge down here, and that's the Neiman rings installed. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this short video, and you'll have a nice day now.